Welcome. My name is Felicia Comisar, and today I would like to share with you restorative yoga. For this practice today, you'll want to have lots of props nearby. You could have blankets and towels folded up. If you have a yoga bolster or blocks, have them with you. If you don't have yoga blocks, 28-ounce cans of crushed tomatoes work very well. If you have yoga blankets, fantastic. An eye pillow could be lovely for practice. See about having 2 eye pillows or similar types of things so that perhaps you could hold one in each hand. Eye pillows can be nice for across the forehead or across the eyes, as the name denotes. Please bring a lightweight blanket or a large scarf to your practice space. This can be lovely for covering the body. It can also be lovely to have in between your face and whatever prop you might be laying down upon. Have a chair or a bench at your practice space today. You could use a couch, but it would be nice to have a chair in that your legs can go underneath. So if you have available to you a bench or a chair without a lot of wood underneath in the middle, that would be really useful today. Couch pillows or cushions, bed pillows, also lovely for restorative yoga. I'm using a mat today to practice upon. One of the reasons I do so is that it seems to help things slide less. I'm on carpeting today, so I don't have a blanket on top of my mat, but if I was upstairs on my hardwood floors, I would have my mat and a blanket or beach towel on top of it. So with your props nearby, come to a comfortable seat. You could cross the ankles or shins. You could stack the ankles. You could sit with the legs long, or even on the chair that you brought today, or on your bottom with your legs long. Let's breathe in together and sigh. Restorative yoga means lots of different things to lots of different people. So it is with gratitude to my teachers and my teachers' teachers that I share with you my understanding of restorative yoga today. My understanding and my practice of restorative yoga has changed throughout the years that I've been practicing and teaching. So if something that I say or I teach today doesn't sit quite right with you, trust your experience to look into it more, to go to a website or buy a book, to study with other teachers, because what restores you ultimately is a very special personal practice. When we come to something called yoga, we often expect a big stretch. Restorative yoga invites you to let go of the act of doing and move more into the being. To be is a verb. To be is doing this act of being human and alive. But instead of reaching to feel a stretch, we gather in props to support the body in different shapes so that as much of us has the opportunity to soften or relax or sometimes release. We all hold deep tension, habitual tension from doing, sometimes from trauma, sometimes from stress and fatigue. These shapes offer you the opportunity to be in a way that can invite you to experience yourself, the experience of your physical body, the experience of your emotional body, to notice the thoughts of your mental body, to have a full experience of yourself. Sometimes that is a welcomed, lovely experience, and sometimes it is jarring. With every yoga practice, we are invited to practice it with the spirit of ahimsa. Ahimsa is nonviolence, non-harming. Restorative yoga invites you to be unconditionally friendly towards yourself and your experience. So I invite you today, as the practice unfolds, to be gentle, to allow what happens to happen, and to choose all the time the version of the shape or the shape itself that allows you to relax and to breathe. Ultimately, we are our own best teacher by how we respond to what we think, to what we hear, and to what we are doing. Inhale, shrug the shoulders gently forward, up. Exhale them back and down. Inhale, gently shrug the shoulders back, up, and then exhale forward and down. And gently lift the right shoulder and then the left shoulder. Shake the head just a little bit no, and just a little bit yes. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, bring your hands together in front of your heart and bow your head. I invite you to chant or hum or listen to the sound of Om with me once. Chanting Om reminds me of my teachers and my teachers' teachers. It's like an arrival gong when I come to my practice mat. It is a very visceral experience of how my breath is flowing today. Within Om is a sound that begins and has a middle. There is an end to the sound, and then there is a space, a timeless quality, an experience. So I invite you, if you would like to chant, hum, or listen to the sound of Om once. Let's inhale. Place your right hand on your chest, your left hand on your belly, and notice the movement in the body as you breathe. Too often we've been taught to control or force the breath. So often we have expectations of what part of the breath is engaging and what part of the breath is more releasing. So see if the shoulders can soften. Feel the ground underneath you, a gentle curve in your low back, a gentle curve in your neck as you almost let the back of the head be drawn back behind you so the shoulders can soften down. As you inhale, the belly fills your left hand. It expands up in between your hands, and finally the right hand, the chest rises. As you exhale, the right hand softens, the middle belly relaxes, and the low belly gently pulls in. Inhale into your left hand, in the space in between. Maybe all the way up into the right hand, soften your jaw, exhale, exhale, exhale. Think about the side body, breathe beside that left hand, the space above that. The side, the right hand, shoulders soft as you exhale, exhale, exhale. Breathe into the low back, the space below the ribs, up into the ribs and even the shoulder blades, and exhale, soften, release. Release the hands to your thighs and open your eyes. You gently lean back and change the cross of the legs. That could be extending the legs long, and that could be changing what leg is crossed in front or behind. In restorative yoga, we come into a pose and we stay still within the pose for a long time. As I offer this video today, I will show different versions of each shape, and then I invite you to pause the video or the recording and maybe play music that lasts for 7, 8, maybe even 10 minutes. And when that song ends, gently inviting yourself to return to the video and follow the transition out of the pose. So often we've been taught that if one thing is good, then a lot of that thing is better. And we've learned that that's not always true. Too much sleep and we feel sleepy. Too much of our favorite food and it's no longer our favorite food. Too much water and we have to pee all the time. So finding that right quality for you. Being curious about whether the urge to change or move out of the shape is about physical discomfort or need to move, or rather an emotional or mental desire to act and change. There is nothing wrong with any thought or feeling that you have. I hope for you that in this practice you slow down and experience all of the feelings, all of the layers of you when this need to move and change arises. The first shape I like to call a restorative child's pose. In restorative child's pose, we make a platform for the chest and the belly and the head, and we lay down on it so that the weight of the body is given over to this support. I like to practice the shape using blocks or cans so that there is a space in between them. If you have a yoga bolster with you, you could place that on the top. So see, there's a space in between. You would want to probably have another blanket or something nearby. You can have the bolster perpendicular to the ground. You can also have it set up so that it is touching the ground and making more of an incline. You might need to raise the blocks if you choose that option. If you don't have a yoga bolster with you at home or yoga blocks, you could again place those crushed tomatoes and several blankets on top, still creating that space in between these supports. Of course, the cans are a little more precarious and it might move a little bit at first, but there's no rush in restorative yoga. So right now I am sitting on my shins with my big toes touching and my hips are back on my heels. My knees don't like that very much. So the way I practice this shape is to take a bed pillow and bring it right on top of my calves, right up into that space, and then sit on my heels. My knees like this version very much. Sometimes the top of the ankles is uncomfortable. You could place a gently rolled up blanket, really gently. So imagine this rolled up here and my ankles just supported at the front. And of course, if this shape does not work with the knees bent, you can sit on your bottom with the legs long beside. So whatever support that you've created, snuggle yourself up to it so that the edge of it is touching your inner thighs. How close you get to it is going to have a lot to depend on how long your femur bones are, how long your torso is. So you're going to lean forward up and onto the supports. My bottom has actually lifted, and so I bring my knees forward and I sink down a little more. So with this version, I no longer feel pressure in my knees because so much of my weight is forward here. You could lean forward and down here with these socks or eye pillows. You can see my elbows easily reach the ground, and that's nice. But one of the opportunities in restorative yoga is to go beyond nice and into a place that makes you say, ah. So just bringing that amount of thickness of blankets softens my inner elbows, lets my shoulders droop down more. You could still have the eye pillows underneath the hands. Some people like to have the hands on top of them. Some people like to have the weight of them in the hands. Your shoulders will like one version or the other. Choose the one you like the most. Another option would be to hug this. So this is the reason for having the blocks or the two cans, because now my arms can come underneath, and this is my favorite. You still might like having the elbows on a blanket, or it might jam your shoulders up and feel uncomfortable. Palms up, palms down, fingers relaxed. And then one more thing. Once you've found the version of this shape that feels nice, consider taking off your glasses If you're wearing a watch or bracelet or necklace, maybe put that off to the side. I'm using my watch to keep time today, so I'm going to keep it on. And then see about finding that light scarf or blanket. Now that you know that the props fit you and how you are today, you could bring a light blanket over you. And again, the option to cover whatever you're placing the face upon could be really sweet. As you spend time in this shape, notice if you've chosen to turn the face in one direction or the other. And invite yourself, about halfway through the time you will spend in the shape, to look to the other side. It might be a welcomed change, it might be an unwelcome change. Breathing into your experience. Noticing perhaps that three-part breath again as you lean forward, the belly pressing into what you are laying upon, the ribs pressing even further, and finally the chest, maybe it feels like it lifts, maybe it feels like it moves forward. Invite yourself to stay in this restorative child's pose for 7 to 10 breaths. Again, with the option to turn the face to the other side about halfway through. You could do that by playing 2 5-minute songs and changing after one. If you're unsure, then play 3-minute songs. Of course, you can set a timer on your phone. I would invite you to choose a really sweet, soft chime to let you know the time to change has come, so that you feel invited to change side to side instead of yelled at to do something quickly. The transitions in restorative yoga are part of the practice. Maybe the most important part of the practice some days. If we push ourselves up and out of the shape so quickly, we jar the breathing, the nervous system. We miss the opportunity to notice expansion that has happened or compression that has happened. We miss the opportunity to learn what was different about being in this shape compared to where we were before. So very gently, bring your hands to the ground. Lift up just enough so that your forehead comes down. Maybe it rests on whatever you are using. And then roll back the low back, the middle back, the upper back. Bring the hands down, extend the legs one at a time behind you. And maybe releasing the blanket, the pillow from behind you. Gently come into a more traditional child's pose shape for a moment. Child's pose can be a lovely thing to practice when you are waking up in the morning, when you are getting ready to go to sleep at night. These poses placed together may construct a perfect practice of many minutes. It could be many hours. Or maybe you find one of these poses that really resonates with you, and you practice it at different times during your day. So from here, I invite you to move into what my first yoga teacher called instant Maui. Instant Maui is laying on your back and bringing your calves and your ankles and your heels and your feet up onto something. So this is where we'll use the chair or a bench that you've brought with you to practice today. If this was not available to you, you could pile up a lovely amount of blankets, a bolster if you have it. So that might look something like this. Just as the transitions out of the shape are so important so that we welcome ourselves to the shape instead of pushing ourselves to the shape. How we move the props around during the practice also says a lot about whether we are practicing ahimsa with ourselves today. So inviting yourself to be kind, to be gentle as you move from shape to shape. So with this instant Maui shape, I think it is lovely to have a blanket for underneath the head, or a blanket is even better in my opinion because some of it can come over your shoulders. So I'll show you both ways and you find the one that makes sense to you. Have your scarf and any eye pillow or socks that you're using nearby, and you'll move gently to lay on your back and let your calves and as much of your ankles as possible be supported. So in this version, with my feet off to the side, having my feet touch the couch here is actually really relaxing for me. Is it relaxing for you though? It might be nicer for you to have your feet touching nothing. Once you come down and feel the support, the cushioning of the head, you could place an eye pillow across the forehead. You can place it across the eyes. You could also, if that's too much or unwelcomed, an eye pillow gently across your low belly can be super sweet and informative about relaxing the breath. Your scarf could come over your eyes or your head. It could also spread out all the way over the body, inviting just a gentle bit of softness. Maybe you like wrapping the backs of the hands in the scarf to invite softness here. So this is one version of instant Maui. As in the other pose where we invited all of the weight, as much of the weight as possible to be onto the support of the bolster or blankets in the restorative child's pose, having as much of the weight of the legs transferred to whatever is underneath them can be really nice for the low back. If you're using a chair, you could have the same pillow here, or you could use a blanket either with the bolster set up or with the chair set up. The difference in a blanket is that you still get the cushioning in the head, but you also have the option to change the layers based on how much curve is in your neck today. And you have the option to maybe snuggle out the edges of the blanket over the tops of the shoulders. So we come into it the same way, lying down on the back, bringing the feet to the chair, the legs to the chair, the ankles to the chair, and then maybe it's a pillow or maybe the blanket comes up and around. Some of us walk around with our shoulders extended far back. A lot of us walk around with our shoulders in and down. It's a very protective posture. You may be spending a lot of time looking at personal devices these days while sitting down, so this could be an invitation to relax that. With the chair, you can bring it in as close or push it as far away as the back loves. Some people will like hooking the feet around. Some people like that sense of being held. Some people will want to not touch the sides at all. If the blanket is over the top of you, the arms can be beside you. You can have the arms way out wide. You can also choose to bring the hands in front of you, clasp the hands, and relax that on the top of your chest. Maybe more relaxing would be to turn the thumbs down, bring the palms together, and then draw the knuckles in and hug here. I find this most comfortable with something filling in this area under my arm. I like soft bed pillows for that. So again, palms facing, then the backs of the hands facing. Cross over, interlace the fingers. With the legs supported here. With any covering that makes sense across the forehead or the eyes. Feel like even the brain could sink to the back of the head. Invite space between the top teeth and the bottom teeth. Maybe feel the different parts of the back press into the floor as the breath flows in and as the breath flows out. I invite you to stay here for 10 to 15 minutes. Letting the earth hold you. Watching the parade of sensation and thought and feeling as you lay back. And when we watch the thoughts and the feelings, we reaffirm, we remember that we are not what we think and what we feel. We are something else that is experiencing the physical sensations and the emotions, is noticing the thoughts. We remember that there is a basic wisdom and goodness to each of us that is deeper and older and far beyond any name, any ability, any feelings of pride or shame. And reconnect with the sweet humanity that we all have within us. To come out of this legs up pose, we'll release the hands. We'll bring the knees in towards the chest and gently roll over onto the side. And taking your time to come back up to sit. Moving into a supported forward fold. Two versions again offered here, with many options within those two versions. So perhaps you find the configuration that you had for your supported child's pose, and then lift up one end. Again, this could be with cans, with books, with dictionaries, if you still have those around. And then you're going to open your legs up to straddle this. And when you're ready, you'll lean forward and down. So we all have different amounts of belly and breast. So you may find, I find that when I lean forward, I don't really reach this before I feel a big pull in my chest. So there are lots of options for that. You can have blankets, I recommend soft blankets for this, coming into the belly. And then again, more blankets or a pillow here for the top. You could have the arms here. You could lift up higher with whatever props are available to you. And then you have the option to bring the hands underneath to hug this cushion, or at any level here with what you've chosen. You can, some people will practice with the forehead and the chin down. Some will choose one ear here. You could have the legs long. You can have the knees bent. It's natural to feel a little bit of sensation as you lean forward. I invite you to be as sweet as you can with yourself, to feel very little leaning forward sensation. Building up a support of softness so that you can relax down into the ground and lean the belly and chest here. Invites all the muscles that hold you upright as you sit throughout your day to really relax. A beautiful configuration of all of your very softest or most supportive blankets here is one way to practice this shape. Another way is to use a chair or a bench. So with the chair or the bench, you have a choice about whether the legs go through or whether the legs go wide. This might be dependent on how wide your chair is and how your legs feel today. So I can straddle my chair, but it feels like work. So this is a day for sure that I'm going to bring my legs through. And it starts out with bringing my arms up and leaning forward. I don't know if you noticed, but then my toes went out to the side. So you want the legs to relax. Your legs might relax with your toes pointing in or up or out to the side. It might feel nice to have the legs, your legs against the legs of the chair. It might feel nice to have space there. So to that end, you could wrap the legs and the feet in a blanket so that if you touch the legs of the chair, it feels soft. Having a blanket here so that the head is supported. And again, the hands could be resting one on top of the other here. Depending on what your chair is like, you could be hugging the arms. See how much of your weight you can get forward. So maybe you can sense that this chair is kind of pushing me back, is how I feel right now. I don't feel like I'm leaning forward. So I have a couple choices. I could scoop my bottom back so that I lean forward more. That's nicer. I could move the chair forward so that I'm leaning forward with my forehead here or one of my cheeks. How you like to lay your head is how you like to lay your head. So maybe your jaw feels tight. Maybe something is going on in your mouth that you don't want to press down on the side. Then find the right support for your arms to hold you up here and your head to rest here, but your shoulders to soften back. So it's the right level. You might have higher blankets here. You might decide that the chair that you brought is not serving you in this shape and gently move it away. Pause and find another chair. And leaning forward and down, allow whatever you are meeting to soften you. And if you find that you're not relaxing here right now, then I invite you to practice ahimsa and know that it is just that the version of this shape is not serving you today. Sometimes what we find in practicing restorative yoga is that there is tension that we are not ready to let go of. Maybe it doesn't support our ideas of who we are or how we are. Draw a long, slow breath in here and sigh. When the body feels held, when the connection to the ground is there with contact with blankets or blocks, bolsters or pillows, the body moves from that fight or flight response, moves beyond the freeze of that response into a place of digestion and rest. The belly softens as it knows that the limbs are not moving. The breath can be welcomed again and again to all of the sides and parts of us. You're welcome to pause this recording and play music for 7 to 10 minutes here. Before transitioning out of this shape, invite yourself to wiggle the fingers and toes, move the eyeballs side to side, and then bringing just the fingertips to a surface. Start to walk yourself back up from your forward fold. And things that were in front of you gently further away or off to the side. Feel the air swirl around the parts of you that were just pressing into something. Practicing restorative yoga can be like putting in the screens once the weather turns warmer. When you think about the breeze coming in, what also happens is what we are done with leaves. Air that has become old, stuffy. Air that we are done with leaves. And in its place is something cool and fresh, with new smells, new movement. I'd like to invite you to move into a gentle reclining pose. This pose requires the most props and can take a bit of time to set up and settle into. And it is probably the pose where you will find yourself wanting to spend the most time. So first I'll demonstrate this shape with yoga props, and then with things that you might have with you at home that you don't find in your yoga studio. So if you have yoga blocks, have one higher than the other. If you have a bolster, gently draw it close to you. And then place the zipper side down. So you'll see here that one edge of the bolster is touching the surface I'm practicing on, and one is higher, so it's a bit of an incline. You'll take a beach towel or a thin blanket and place it at the top of this. This is to support your head, and maybe the blanket edges can come across the top of your shoulders. I like to start with it opened up, and then if I find that I want it to be higher, I can reach back, tuck it under, and bring it higher at that point. But to start lower seems to work best. You're going to sit up close to this bolster, so if you've been noticing any awareness of your low back on the ground, perhaps not loving it, this might be a pose where you would open up a blanket or two blankets so that your seat is supported here. And taking 2 blankets of your choice, roll them up into cylinders and place them on either side of you. Have an extra blanket or a scarf or eye pillows nearby, or all of it. With your back firmly against this bolster and block creation, with your feet on the floor, bring your rolled up blankets in to touch your ankles and touch your thighs. Really snug them in. And then let your knees open to the side. So my knees aren't coming very far down. We could actually put 2 blankets on each side so the knees are lifted even higher. And then coming to lay back and down, bring this blanket up to fill in the space between your neck and the bolster. You can again tuck it under to lift the head higher. You can also unfold it to let the head fall back more. This might be a place to bring a blanket across the hips. You could bring a blanket or something to wrap the feet and the ankles. You could draw an eye pillow or something across the eyebrows or the forehead. You could bring a blanket open across the body. In any of these shapes, it may be the cherry on the sundae for you to bring something across the chest or the shoulders and the forward folds. If there are extra blankets nearby, you could bring them underneath the backs of the hands, or it could even be pillows. You may enjoy holding eye pillows in your hands, or again, if the palms prefer being down, you could have them on top of the eye pillows. So that would be the version if you find yourself at home with bolsters. Most of us don't. So without bolsters, you would instead use, I think, cushions and pillows to make this incline is really lovely. So you may use your crushed tomatoes at the back to lift up. You may have bed pillows. You may have a whole system of pillows and cushions. I still recommend a soft blanket or a beach towel here for the top. So I've created that same slope. It's actually softer than the bolster. There's a quality of this that I find preferable, more restorative. So you come into it the same way. Again, the blankets beside you rolled up, you don't want a big sensation of opening across the loins. Any type of blankets you like on your belly. See about bringing that over the top of the shoulders. So nice. We talk about balance in yoga a lot, and I think sometimes we can be misguided in thinking that doing the same thing on one side as we do on the other is how to be balanced. There may be more tightness, there may be an injury or condition on one side that is not on the other. If you have a curve in your spine, when you lay back, you may find that you want to bring a scarf or a towel underneath the side of your spine that is not making the same amount of contact with what is underneath you. Restorative yoga is such a customized practice. It is different every time you come to it, because we are different every time we come to practice. Draw a long, slow breath in through your nose. Open your mouth and sigh. the weight of what is upon you. Feel the weight which you carry within you. And exhale. You could practice this shape for 15 to 20 minutes. You can practice this shape for 5 minutes. In lifting and holding the thighs up, something deep in the groins and the hips might have the opportunity to soften. In placing a blanket or a scarf across the belly or the arms, the muscles that hold your phone, that hold you up, have an opportunity to relax. Invite yourself to practice these shapes until you experience or get a sense of the option you have to turn that switch off from doing and enjoy the pause of being. When you are ready, become aware of what is underneath you and around you. And gently move anything underneath the right arm or right hand off to the side. And gently bring one sole of the foot to the floor and then the other so the knees are bent up to the ceiling. And then moving that cylinder off to the side, roll over onto your right. You can stay on top of your beautiful incline of bolster and blocks or cushions and pillows. And then using the right arm as a gentle kickstand, make your way to come all the way down onto the floor. More neutral, long form of you. Left hand on the floor, gently make your way up to sit. One of the very sweet things about practicing at home is that the whole space is yours. When we practice Shavasana in a yin yoga or a vinyasa yoga class, maybe you've heard that it's the most important pose. There's a quality of Shavasana in all of the restorative yoga poses, in my opinion. Shavasana still holds a very special place in the practice. We like the body to lay down in a more gently neutral position for Shavasana, using using the knowledge of what has happened, the experience today, to inform what you place under the head for your Shavasana. So it could be a blanket, it could be a pillow, maybe you'd like to lay down with the legs long, maybe you'd like to lay down with the head nestled and something gently rolled up underneath the back of the legs. So if you take a blanket or a couple beach towels, and you take the edges and you roll them in, you can make a little nest for your head here. And then, if that is where the head is going to be, this fringe of my blanket is going to be right underneath my shoulder, right underneath my neck. So now that I've showed you that from this angle, I'm going to move it back here. And then you could take 2 pillows or a cushion to bring underneath the legs. Your legs could be reaching right out from your hip sockets. Your knees could be gently off to the side. Some people enjoy placing a bolster underneath the calves. Some people enjoy the bolster being more back underneath the thighs. I think an interesting thing to consider is how the back feels during this. I think it is useful when any support that is underneath the calves or the knees or the thighs and gently holds the thigh bones so that all the muscles of the upper legs, the outer hips and the back receive the information that you're not going anywhere and that it is a time to relax and lean back. You may like to swaddle the feet for this. You may rather have that cool breeze around them. And then as you're ready, laying down, finding that space in between anything that you put underneath your head so that your head feels supported and your shoulders relax. A blanket across the belly or the whole chest and arms. Arms alongside the body, with the wrists and the elbows and the arms supported enough that the inner elbows are soft. Sometimes we lay down in Shavasana and we spread the arms so wide, stretching everything. Invite the arms close enough into the body that those muscles and tendons and ligaments can relax and be soft. Draw a long, slow breath in through your nose. Open the mouth and sigh. I'm going to invite you to leave the recording playing so that I can walk you through a breathing technique called square pose. Feeling the ground welcome you. And feeling the ability to relax any concern about what to do for the next few moments. Noticing the places that hold tension and thanking them. The places in you that hold tension, do so to honor what you have asked of your body thus far. But it could be that the tension that is there hasn't received the information that it could relax now. So maybe a very wonderful part of your practice in this moment, right here and right now, is to let the body know that you value it, and that you are grateful that all that it does, and that it has these few precious moments of Shavasana, and to soften and to relax. You're welcome to let the breath flow easily and sweetly, just as it is. Or you can practice this square pose breath. Square pose is breathing in for 4, pausing for 4, exhaling for 4, pausing for 4, before beginning again. Breath retention is not recommended if you are pregnant. It is not recommended if it brings up feelings of anxiety. If that applies, or if that happens, invite yourself to breathe in and out fluidly, noticing and being. If square pose is appropriate, if you feel curious about leaning in, you take a natural breath in and let it go. And breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, pause, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, and pause, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, pause, exhale, and pause. Inhale, and pause. Release, and pause. Last round. Inhale, pause, release, and pause. Inviting yourself now into the stillness and sweetness of Shavasana. 20 minutes of Shavasana would not be too much. This shape could be a restorative practice that you practice daily. Letting the eyes relax beneath the closed eyelids. Allowing for space between the jaws. And feeling yourself held by the gravity of Mother Earth, held by your decision to practice yoga today. Held by the sweetness available to you right here and right now. Inclination that comes up to be done, to begin moving again. rather than any kind of constricted, forced stillness. And you can pause this recording and listen to music or stillness of your choice for 10 to 15 more minutes. Beginning to deepen your breath. With a big smooth inhale and exhale, maybe gently inviting the breath to expand. Maybe bring your arms in and give yourself a hug, or rest them gently on your belly as it rises and falls. Some gentle movement side to side or stretching. As you're ready, hug your knees in and give yourself a squeeze. Make your way over onto your right side. Lying on your right side, thank yourself for this time of exploration and kindness. Self-care that leans into listening to the requests of your body and your heart and your mind. A gentle exploration. Mindful transitions from this pose to that. All with that unconditional friendliness towards yourself. As you're ready, build your way up to come to a comfortable seat. Maybe you sit on the edge of some of the props you've used. Maybe you sit still on the ground with the legs long or the knees bent. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Rest one hand on top of the other on your chest, or let your hands stay on top of your legs. As we move to close class with the chanting of a single Om, and then the word Shanti, peace, 3 times together. Let's inhale.
Lift your face, bring your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows, a gesture of trusting yourself. Exhale, bow forward to you. Loka samasta, sukhi no bhavantu. That means may all beings everywhere be happy and free. Namaste. The light within me recognizes and bows to the light within you. Thank you so much for joining me for this introductory practice to restorative yoga. I hope you will feel encouraged and bolstered to practice on your own, or perhaps take a class online, or hopefully in person very, very soon. Be well. Namaste.